Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to this recap episode of Flow Over Fear. And today I'm going to break down the interview I just had with Allison Watson. She has been a friend of mine for quite a few years now, ever since we've met in the world of Ironman, in the world of endurance sports. And she is an amazing endurance athlete by her own right, doing within Ironman, within ultra distance, ultra running and ultraman circles. She has qualified for Kona. She's qualified for the 70.3 World Championship. She has finished the top of her age group. She has set bike course records. I mean, she sets the world on fire in the endurance world. And she's done so after, only starting out in 2015. She did a couch to a sprint triathlon, and that got her hooked. And then she wanted to see what's next. So she started doing an Olympic. Then she did 70.3. And then the rest, as they say, is history. She's also a CEO of a 1,200 person firm called Woodard and Curran that is essentially an engineering firm. And that in and of itself is obviously something that takes up a lot of time. And that's one of the things we started our conversation with is really that management of prioritization. As a single mom, Allison, and as a single mom and as an endurance athlete who's doing a ton of training, and as a CEO, that's a lot to juggle. And so one of my questions certainly was how do we do all of that thing? And it's something that Allison, playfully called life Jenga. And I love that term because that's what it feels like sometimes. But the implication within that is that we really let go of perfection in any one of those things at any given time, depending on what we're prioritizing. If we prioritize something, we put our full effort into it. And as we put our full focus or full attention into it, we also let go of perfection in the other areas that we might not necessarily be prioritizing at that moment. But the key is that we can shift where we're prioritizing at any given time. Sometimes work might need that prioritization. Sometimes family might need that prioritization. Sometimes it may be ourselves. And that's an important part of the puzzle as well, of that Jenga, is making sure we're giving it to ourselves as well. Otherwise, we might go down a path that Allison herself said that she went down after she finished college, which was not really prioritizing herself, not really taking care of herself, but really letting external factors take priority over everything. And it was when she started getting into triathlon that fire kind of kicked in again, that little flame of passion. And it's one of those experiences where how in the midst of this crazy lifestyle where she was already a CEO of a company of 120 people, and she was already had kids and all of this stuff. How do you throw in there, well, I'm going to start training for triathlons? And the truth is that if you're not taking care of yourself, a lot of times you're not giving yourself the capacity to succeed. And this was an important point that Allison kind of alluded to, which is that sometimes by adding the right things, we're subtracting certain things, meaning we're subtracting like the limited capacity that we have, or the limited mental energy that we have, or the drama or the unhealthiness that we have. We're taking that part out because we're adding something healthy in. And when we're adding something in that gives us energy, that fills us up, it can actually add to other areas of our life. And that's the case. That is the case with something like triathlon or endurance sports for Allison or for myself. When we add those in, we're actually subtracting out a lot of the bad. We're kind of giving ourselves something, and we're taking care of ourselves so that we can be better in the world. We can be better leaders. We can be more effective. We can be better parents, and all of that good stuff. Allison's rise to endurance, greatness was not free of any challenge. In Ironman Texas in 2018, she experienced a very bad accident where she broke nearly every bone in her body except the ones that I named. But she broke many of her bones, and it was through that experience that she really struggled mentally to come to terms, because she was having a hard time in her life too. That as she was laying in the hospital, she was wondering if she was ever going to be able to do this thing that was really, really filling her cup again, which was triathlon. She was pursuing, becoming a professional. She was pursuing the Kona qualification, all of these great things, and it was suddenly taken from her. But she realized that as she was healing through it, she had a choice, that she didn't need to be stuck. That choice was that she made a deliberate choice to go in the direction of making it a positive experience, of ultimately making it a positive experience. Though she didn't know at the time what that meant or where that would lead, the important thing was that she was going to make that conscious choice to control what she could control and move in the direction that it was going to be something positive in the end. That's faith. And that's the power of choice. And that's something that's been a common theme within a lot of the interviews that I've done with people that are rising above fear, that have experienced these challenges, yet they've pursued and experienced greatness anyway. Is the difference is that they made a choice to turn it into a positive experience or shape the meaning into something more powerful, more meaningful. She made a choice not to be stuck. And that choice ultimately, transferred into different areas of her life as well, which led her to become a better leader, a better athlete ultimately. And after she recovered, that's when she started ending up breaking records in cycling and winning her age group at Ironman 70.3 Indian Wells. Quite the triumph, quite the comeback story in that. One of the great pieces of advice that she gave to people who might feel like they're in a rut or feel like they're stuck in a situation is that they follow their curiosity. Follow your curiosity. Follow that what if. If you see something that kind of lights you up for a moment, it's important to ask yourself, well, what if I did that? What if I started with that? And then not let that sidebar conversation that's in your head saying, you can't do that. Don't let that get in the way of the what if. Just follow through with the curiosity. Start with the what if, and then when you're curious about something, if you can get curious and you can pursue that curiosity, you might find a passion. You might find some additional joy. You might find that thing to add into your life that subtracts out all the other bad things. And one of those takeaways is that it might not always be good in life. I mean, and endurance sports are, analogous to this. And it's something that Alyson touched on, which is that especially in endurance sports, and, it's a good life lesson within this. You're guaranteed over the course of a long 100-mile race or whatever, you're guaranteed to have good and bad experiences in that race. It's long enough that you're going to experience bad feelings or bad experiences. That's going to happen. Once you accept that and admit it, then you can recognize that on the other side of that bad is good. There's good on the other side of bad. And if we can experience that in endurance races, there's a great lesson there for life, that even when we're going through bad, even when we're going through the crucible or the challenge or the pain or the struggle or the trauma, that there can be good on the other side of it. And it's all in how we shape our meaning or our perspective. And one of the other important points that Alyson brought up and that she's doing currently, or that she has been doing recently, and that she has been doing in the past in order to help her to get out of a rut, is journaling, is writing out things. And that's an important thing. And it's leading her down the path of hopefully authoring a book within the next year that will start to explore our core values. And the core values are obviously something that are important to me, and experiencing greater flow in our lives. We experience greater flow when we lean into our values, right? We tend to experience the obstruction to flow when we're experiencing our toxic values, or when we're experiencing our away from values. But when we get into our values, we can experience more flow. So I'm excited to see what Allison drafts up within that book, because I think it's going to be really helpful, especially from the perspective of a high-powered CEO who is an amazing endurance athlete, who's clearly accomplished a great deal of things, not the least of which is being an amazing mother, an amazing leader, and an amazing athlete. So if you haven't listened to it already, give this episode with Allison Watson a listen. You won't be disappointed. And until next time, thanks for joining me on Flow Over Fear. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Flow Over Fear podcast. If you'd like to learn more about getting into flow and learn the foundations of flow, I have a free video series on my website at www.adamcliffordhill.com called The Foundations of Flow. Feel free to go there and download it and start your journey to rising above fear and achieving greater flow in your life. And if you like this episode, and I'm guessing you did if you stuck around for this long, then please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and you will receive notifications when I have new interviews, new recaps, and new trainings that pop up on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us.